There is a sacred difference between those who do business and those who move the world with it. You can sell a product, or you can shape a future. You can chase revenue, or you can create legacy. You can enter the market, or you can shake the ground beneath it. And this is where most never dare to stand. Not because they can't, but because they never learn the rules of impact, the unwritten codes, the inner architecture of influence that turns effort into empire. You see, anyone can build a business, but not everyone can build something that echoes something that lives on in the minds, the hearts, and the lives of others long after the transaction is over. You don't need to be louder. You don't need to be everywhere. You need to be real. You need to matter. Because in a world obsessed with attention, the rarest currency is meaning. You are not here just to succeed. You are here to shake the dust off what's possible, to speak so clearly through your craft that the world can't help but feel the tremor. And for that, you must be built different. It starts in the mind, not the market. You want to create impact in business? Then sharpen your mindset until it cuts through mediocrity like a blade. This world doesn't need more people trying to figure it out. It needs warriors of thought individuals who've forged belief into steel, who enter each day like it's war and leave behind the ashes of excuses. Your mindset is not just how you think, it's how you see. It's how you speak. It's how you hold yourself when no one's buying, no one's watching, and everything looks like failure. Do you collapse? Or do you become more precise? Because the marketplace doesn't reward panic. It rewards presence. It rewards those who in the chaos plant their feet and say, "Let it storm, I build anyway." Belief is not optional. It is oxygen. Every word you say about your business, your product, your mission, it all drips with the tone of your belief, and the world can smell it. Customers, clients, investors, they can tell when you're faking it. They can feel when you don't believe in what you're building. But when you do believe deeply, violently, irrationally, it bleeds into every decision. You stop selling and you start serving. You stop convincing and you start converting. Because belief magnetizes, it ignites, it disrupts. People don't follow logic, they follow conviction. They don't buy information, they buy emotion, they buy identity, they buy vision. And vision is what separates noise from narrative. You don't need a business plan, you need a business prophecy. A future so clear you can see it when you close your eyes. A destination so magnetic that others want to walk beside you just to feel the heat of your fire. Clarity doesn't mean having all the answers. It means knowing the direction so well that the detours don't distract you. This is why most fail. They pivot before they plant. They change their offer, their brand, their voice, every time the wind changes. But vision demands you stay the course, even when the fog rolls in. And behind that vision, there must be purpose, not just profit. Purpose is the force multiplier. It turns your business into a movement. It's what gets you out of bed when the money isn't showing up. It's what makes the late nights worth it, the rejections tolerable, the setbacks fuel. Purpose isn't found, it's declared. You decide what your business is here to do. You decide who it's for, what it stands against, and why it must exist. When your business has purpose, it becomes alive. People feel it. They don't just buy your product, they join your cause. They don't just pay you, they praise you, refer you, defend you. Discipline is what turns that purpose into progress. Forget motivation. It's a sugar high. Discipline is the long burn, the rhythm, the ritual, the daily grind when the passion isn't showing up. It's writing the email when your head hurts. It's fixing the funnel when the ad flopped. It's showing up for your team when you want to disappear. Discipline is the echo of your standards. And your standards, not your goals, will determine your success. Goals are dreams with a deadline. Standards are the invisible lines you refuse to cross, no matter what. You don't rise to your dreams, you fall to your standards. If your standard is average, your results will betray you. If your standard is excellence, your business will reflect it. But all of this, the mindset, the belief, the vision, the purpose, the discipline, none of it means anything without action. Massive, imperfect, relentless action. Too many sit on million-dollar ideas, paralyzed by perfection. But impact doesn't reward perfection. It rewards velocity, movement, execution. Ideas mean nothing until they become motion, until they live in the world, flawed and loud and alive. The graveyard is full of brilliant business plans that never saw the light because someone waited for the right time. Stop waiting. Start launching. Start selling. Start speaking. Do it ugly. Do it afraid. Do it while your hands shake. Because motion is magic. When you move, things happen. People notice. Opportunities appear. Luck finds the one already sprinting, not the one sitting still. But in that motion, don't forget the power of gratitude. Gratitude is not passive. It's not just saying thank you. It's an energy, a mindset that sharpens your eyes to see how far you've come so you can find the strength to go further. Gratitude multiplies resources. It makes small wins feel like fuel. It reminds you that you are not empty, you are equipped. You are not behind, you are becoming. And from gratitude comes adaptability. Business is not static. Markets change, platforms shift, algorithms die. The ones who create lasting impact are not the ones who hold tight to the old way. They are the ones who adapt without losing their essence. They don't chase trends. They evolve their tactics. Their core stays firm, but their expression remains fluid. Adaptability is not compromise, it is survival with style. You want to stay in the game? Then bend like bamboo, not break like glass. Flow with the times, but stay rooted in your truth. And when it gets hard, and it will, remember resilience. Resilience is not just surviving the storm. It's dancing in the rain. It's rebuilding with bloodied hands. It's turning breakdowns into breakthroughs. It's failing forward, falling with grace, standing with scars. Resilience is what separates the weekend warriors from the legacy builders. Every business that's ever changed the world has bled first, been laughed at, mocked, rejected, but they kept going because they knew pain is not a stop sign. It's a signal, a redirection, a strengthening. You don't create impact by being untouched. You create it by being unshaken. And through it all, you must keep learning. Learning is the compass, the mirror, the whetstone. Every client is a lesson. Every failure is feedback. Every win is data. If you are not learning, you are losing. If you are not evolving, you are eroding. Read more, study more, ask better questions, get around giants, stretch your perspective, hire mentors. Listen twice as much as you speak. The marketplace doesn't pay for information. It pays for transformation. And the more you grow, the more you can give. Because that's what this is really about. Not just income, but impact. Not just noise, but legacy. Not just making money, but making meaning. And to do that, you must burn with clarity, breathe with belief, move with purpose, strike with discipline, adjust with wisdom, and rise with resilience. Your business is not just a business. It is a message, a mission, a megaphone for your soul. So speak clearly, build boldly, serve deeply, and never forget, you are not just building a brand, you are building a ripple in the ocean of humanity. Let it thunder. Impact is not created by shouting louder, it's created by speaking truer. Because the real secret to influence is not persuasion, it is alignment. When who you are, what you say, and what you build are in perfect harmony, people feel it. They trust it. They follow it. You don't have to manipulate when your message is magnetic. And that kind of alignment doesn't come from branding exercises or clever marketing. It comes from brutal honesty, from knowing who you are, who you're not, and who you're becoming. The most powerful businesses don't pretend, they proclaim. They don't blend in. They break molds. You want to create impact? Then get crystal clear on what you stand for, not what you sell, what you stand for. What do you believe about the world? What do you believe about people? What are you willing to say that others are too afraid to speak? Because clarity is attractive. Certainty is magnetic. And boldness is what turns whispers into wildfire. This is why so few truly dominate. Not because they lack talent or skill or opportunity, but because they refuse to risk being misunderstood. But you, if you're going to make impact, you must make peace with this. Some people won't get you. Some will mock you. Some will attack you. But that's the price of leadership. That's the rent you pay for relevance. The moment you decide to matter, you also decide to be polarizing. And that's not a bug, it's a feature. Because vanilla doesn't change lives. Lukewarm doesn't spark revolutions. The brands that move mountains are the ones who chose to stand tall, even when it was uncomfortable, even when it was lonely, especially when it was lonely. Impact isn't created in crowds. It's forged in solitude, in those quiet moments when you wrestle with doubt, when you question the path, when you wonder if it's worth it, and yet you choose to go again. That's when you become dangerous. That's when your business becomes alive. Because now you're not just working for income, you're working from identity, from mission, from truth, from fire. And people feel that. They may not say it. They may not even understand it, but they will feel it in your words, in your work, in your presence. This is how movements are born. Not from trends, not from algorithms, but from souls set on fire. And that fire must be protected because the world will try to dim it with doubt, with distraction, with delay. They'll tell you to play it safe, to scale back, to soften your message, to follow the formula. But you were not born to fit into their frame. You were born to build your own. Your business is not a formula. It's a force. So stop chasing tactics and start cultivating truth. The greatest strategies are useless if your foundation is weak, if your why is shallow, if your energy is scattered. But when your core is strong, when your conviction is clear, even the simplest strategy becomes explosive. Because now, every post, every pitch, every product drips with power. This is the kind of business that creates waves, not just income. The kind that shifts culture. The kind that redefines standards. The kind that carves its name into time. And all of that begins not with marketing, not with capital, but with inner mastery. With the relentless decision to become the kind of person that the world cannot ignore. So I ask you again, then listen closely, because the world doesn't need another product, another pitch, or another polished post. It needs leaders. It needs fire starters. It needs you fully awake, fully alive, and fully unshakable. To create real impact in business, you must lead yourself before you ever lead a market. Leadership is not about titles. It's about transformation. It's about who you become in the process of building something that matters. You want to scale your business? Scale your character. You want more influence? Increase your integrity. You want to lead teams, movements, customers, communities? Then lead your emotions, your habits, your thoughts, daily, ruthlessly, unapologetically, because your business will never outgrow your self-control. It will never exceed your emotional discipline. You cannot build an empire with a fragile ego. You cannot create culture if you're still controlled by comments. And you will never shape others if you're still addicted to validation. Control yourself, and you become unstoppable. In business, it's not always about how smart you are. It's about how stable you are. When the pressure hits, when the team stumbles, when the numbers drop, will you lose your grip? Or will you lead with composure? The greatest entrepreneurs aren't the ones who know everything. They're the ones who can hold everything and still move forward with focus. That's emotional mastery. That's personal power. And it's what your clients are buying more than anything else. They're not just buying your product. They're buying your energy. They're buying your stability. They're buying your ability to stand tall while others fall apart. Because when chaos hits, and it always will, the market looks for anchors, for voices of calm, for pillars of certainty. Be that pillar. Your impact in business will be directly proportional to your ability to stay grounded in storms, to be the lighthouse, not the ship. And once you learn to lead yourself, you must learn to lead through service. Service is not servitude. It is the highest form of strategy. The most impactful businesses are obsessed with people, not just profits. They listen deeper, they care harder, they serve better. Because service creates loyalty. Service creates evangelists. Service creates longevity. When your customer feels seen, heard, valued, they return. They tell others. They don't just buy from you, they build with you. But you must earn that. And you earn it not through empty promises, but through relentless execution, through excellence, through follow-through. This is how trust is built in the marketplace, not through marketing funnels, but through a reputation for delivering what you said you would, when you said you would, better than they expected. That's how you create word of mouth in a world full of noise. Exceed expectations. Obsess over details. Outcare the competition. And do it consistently. Consistency, my friend, is the unsung hero of impact. Anyone can show up when they're excited. But the ones who change the world are the ones who show up when it's boring, when it's hard, when it's thankless, and still give their best. Because they're not performing, they're producing. Not for applause, but because excellence is who they are. This is how you build a business that lasts. A business that grows beyond you. A business that scales without losing its soul. And that scale doesn't happen by accident. It happens through systems. Systems are how vision becomes reality. You cannot create massive impact on memory, emotion, and energy alone. You need structure, you need flow, you need automation. Not to replace your heart, but to amplify it. Systems are how you serve more people without burning out. They're how you delegate with confidence. They're how you make sure that what you promised actually gets delivered. Impact is not just a moment, it's a machine. And machines need design, precision, optimization. So build your systems like you build your character strong, clean, unbreakable. Then plug your people into those systems and elevate them. Because your team is not just staff. They are your first followers, your first believers, your culture in motion. How you treat them is how they'll treat your clients. How you empower them is how they'll grow your vision. How you lead them is how your legacy will expand. And if you want them to go above and beyond, then you must be the kind of leader who inspires, not just instructs. Show them what greatness looks like. Model the standard. Reward excellence. Coach constantly. Build humans, not robots. Because the true measure of your business is not just the revenue it generates. It's the leaders it multiplies. Now ask yourself, am I building something that will outlive me? Because that is the final test of impact. Not how big it grows while you're here, but how deeply it roots after you're gone. Then let's go deeper past the surface, into the soul of what it truly means to create lasting, undeniable, world-shaping impact in business. Because legacy is not a word, it's a weight, a responsibility, a fire you carry into every decision, every transaction, every interaction. You're not just building a company, you're shaping a culture. You're not just making money, you're making moments, memories, milestones in the lives of others. And when you begin to see that, everything changes. Your offers become more thoughtful. Your messaging becomes more precise. Your service becomes more sacred. Because now, it's not about you. It's bigger than you. Legacy builders think differently. They ask different questions. Not, how do I get more? But, how do I give more without burning out? Not, how do I compete? But how do I lead? Not, how do I stay relevant? But, how do I become necessary? To be necessary, you must solve problems no one else is willing to see. You must touch pain others avoid. You must speak into the silence that others pretend isn't there. And this takes courage. It takes the kind of courage that doesn't show up with noise, but with nuance. It's not the chest-beating kind. It's the quiet resolve that says, I will carry this mission through the mud, through the doubt, through the fatigue, until it breathes on its own. This is the real work of impact. Not the stage, not the spotlight, but the late-night call to a struggling client. The silent decision to do the right thing when no one would know otherwise. The refusal to compromise the core, even when the world offers shortcuts. This kind of business has bones. It stands when others crumble. It expands when others shrink, because it is rooted in values, not vibes. And values, they are your compass in the chaos. When the world screams, scale faster, your values whisper, build deeper. When competitors play dirty, your values tell you to stay clean, even if it costs you in the short term. Because impact is a long game. You don't build legacy in quarters, you build it in decades. And that means you must detach your worth from your wins. You are not your last launch. You are not your current follower count. You are not defined by this month's revenue. You are defined by your vision, your values, and your willingness to keep showing up when the world stops clapping. Most will give up in silence, not because they weren't good enough, but because they never learned how to separate their identity from their income. You must. If you want to last, if you want to lead, because the world doesn't just need high performers, it needs whole leaders. Leaders who are strong, steady, integrated. Leaders who are rich not just in wealth, but in wisdom, in compassion, in clarity. This is the new currency of impact, and it's contagious. When you lead like this, you attract others who are hungry for more than vanity metrics. You attract allies, not just affiliates, partners, not just prospects, collaborators, not just customers. Your name becomes a symbol. Your brand becomes a beacon, because impact leaves fingerprints on people, on communities, on the future. But only if you're willing to play the real game. The game of growth, of mastery, of multiplication. Not just of sales, but of spirit. And that requires one more thing. It requires you to be willing to be seen, truly seen. Not just in your polished success, but in your real humanity. In your mistakes, in your lessons, in your process. Because the world is tired of perfect. What it craves is truth. And when you show up raw, real, and relentlessly consistent, you give others permission to do the same. That's when impact scales beyond your control. That's when your business becomes a movement. That's when you stop playing the game and start changing the rules. Then we build. Brick by brick, truth by truth, principle by principle. Because when you build for impact, you are not just constructing a business, you are constructing a cathedral. One that echoes with the sound of purpose. One that shelters others under the roof of your work. One that stands long after you are gone. And every cathedral needs a foundation unshakable, immovable, eternal. That foundation is built from trust. Trust is the currency of kings. The asset that cannot be bought, only earned. And once earned, it compounds in ways no ad campaign ever could. Trust turns customers into family. Trust turns buyers into believers. Trust turns launches into legacy. But trust demands consistency. It demands transparency. It demands responsibility. It means doing what you said you'd do long after the mood you set it in is gone. It means showing up fully, even when things break, even when the client is angry, even when you're tired. Because you cannot outsource integrity. And in this digital age, where every word is recorded and every move is mirrored, integrity is no longer optional, it is oxygen. Lose it and your brand suffocates. So guard it with everything you have. Build with patience. Deliver with excellence. Speak with truth. And remember, nothing breaks trust faster than inauthenticity. If your message doesn't match your model, the world will feel it. If your promise doesn't match your process, the market will know. If your image doesn't match your intention, your influence will fade. Because we are no longer in the information age. We are in the discernment age. And people can smell fake from miles away. They are no longer impressed by high production value if the values behind the production are hollow. They are not moved by hype. They are moved by honesty, by depth, by resonance. So go deeper. Don't just create offers, create outcomes. Don't just build a business, build a bond. Don't just monetize your skill, minister with your soul. You are not a product. You are not a pitch. You are not an algorithm. You are a messenger, a voice the world hasn't heard quite like this before, a heart wired with answers to problems others won't touch, a mind capable of forging futures that don't yet exist. And that means you have a duty not just to build, but to become the kind of person who can carry this impact without collapsing under the weight of it, to become the kind of soul who doesn't just want more, but is ready for more. Because power without preparation is poison. But when you're ready, truly ready, the weight doesn't crush you. It carves you. It shapes you. It turns you into the kind of leader whose presence alone is transformational. And from that place, you lead differently. You listen more. You speak with precision. You hire with discernment. You sell with integrity. You scale with intention. You understand that every decision echoes, every product teaches, every touch point is a sermon. And when you get this, when you embody this, you realize you were never building a business. You were building a legacy of light. And impact, real impact, is the light that cannot be extinguished. So now I ask you, not as a prompt, but as a call. Are you ready to light the next fire? Then let's burn the map and follow the mission. Because at this level, strategy becomes secondary to spirit. Tactics bow to tenacity. And plans are merely suggestions when purpose roars like thunder inside your chest. You are not following a blueprint, you are becoming one. The kind of blueprint others will study when they're tired of shortcuts. The kind they'll reference when they're ready to stop dabbling and start dominating. The kind that doesn't just lead to money, but to meaning. And here's what most never understand. Impact does not come from force. It comes from flow, from alignment, from congruence, from a life where your business, your message, your energy, all sing the same note. When that happens, it's not marketing. It's music. Your brand becomes a frequency. Your product becomes a promise. Your service becomes a sanctuary. People don't just buy what you offer, they feel who you are. And that is what scales, because alignment creates acceleration. When your identity matches your intention, results come faster. When your decisions match your destiny, resistance fades. When your soul matches your strategy, success becomes natural. Not easy, but natural. You're not fighting upstream anymore. You're flowing in the river you were born to navigate. But to find that river, you must shed everything false. All the borrowed beliefs, all the inherited definitions of success, all the masked ambitions that were never really yours. Because impact doesn't come from imitation, it comes from initiation. You must go first, into the unknown, into the silence, into the work no one sees. That is where clarity is born. That is where vision sharpens. That is where you stop building what others want and start building what only you can. And once you do that, the world will respond. They may resist you at first. They may not understand you. They may try to fit you into their mold. But if you stand firm, if you refuse to shrink, they will follow. Because people are starving for the real. And when they find it, they never forget it. This is what you were born to create. Not noise, not gimmicks, but gravity. The kind of gravity that pulls the right people, the right partnerships, the right platforms into your orbit. Not because you're chasing them, but because you became impossible to ignore. You didn't push. You pulled. You didn't perform. You embodied. You didn't market harder. You mattered more. That's the rule of real impact. Become someone who matters, and the market will adjust to you. But you must stay the course. You must endure the middle, the part where nothing makes sense, where results are slow, where doubt creeps in and whispers, go back. Don't. Push forward. Breathe deeper. Double down. Because every empire has a middle. And those who last through the middle, they own the mountain. So now you've come this far. What do you say? Then let's go past the point of no return. Because when you cross this threshold, there's no turning back. Not mentally, not spiritually, not emotionally. You've tasted what it feels like to build with fire instead of fear. And once you taste it, you can't go back to bland. You've felt what it means to work from soul, not survival. And once you've lived there, you'll never settle for surface. This is where empires are born. Right here, in the furnace, in the fire of full alignment, where your product, your purpose, your personality all fuse into one voice, one movement, one legacy. But the real work now is to sustain the flame. Because impact is not a burst, it's a burn. It's not about intensity. It's about endurance. It's not about the sprint. It's about the stamina. It's not how loud you roar, it's how long you resonate. And this requires mastery over your environment. If you want to build something that endures, protect your space like your destiny depends on it. Because it does. Audit your circle. Audit your inputs. Audit your energy. You cannot afford proximity to people who shrink your vision. You cannot allow your creativity to be clouded by chaos. You cannot allow distraction to become your daily diet. Protect your mornings. Guard your evenings. Design your days with military precision and sacred intention. Because time is not your enemy misused. Time is... Most people don't fail from lack of opportunity. They fail from lack of focus. From trying to build 5 businesses at once. From chasing every shiny object. From copying every trend, following every guru, implementing every tactic. But impact is not built on variety. It's built on velocity in one direction. Choose your lane. Own your lane. Master your lane. Let others do more. You do it deeper. Because the deeper you go, the stronger the roots. And the stronger the roots, the higher the rise. Surface-level businesses fade. Soul-rooted empires ascend. And when you build from this place, the market begins to shift around you. You stop fitting into categories. You stop competing on price. You stop chasing leads because you are no longer a commodity. You are a category of one. This is how true impact is created. By becoming undeniable, not through gimmicks, but through gravity. Not through volume, but through value. Not through hacks, but through heart. And once you've built something of this caliber, you scale it, not just through strategy, but through story. Because facts tell, features tell, but stories sell. Story is the bridge between you and the world. It's how people remember you. It's how people trust you. It's how people believe in you before they've bought a thing. Your story is your stamp. Your struggle is your strength. Your scars are your strategy. Don't hide them. Highlight them. Tell the truth of where you've been. Speak the lessons of what you've learned. Let people see not just your peak, but your climb. Because when they see your climb, they believe they can climb too. That's the power of real impact. It multiplies. It turns your breakthrough into someone else's blueprint. It turns your business into someone else's belief. It turns your voice into someone else's victory. So I'll ask you one last time, then step with me into the rare air where few go, but many are called. This is the place beyond tactics, beyond branding, beyond even business. This is the dimension of destiny, where your business is not just an entity, it is a living organism, a vessel, a voice, a vision in motion. And like all living things, It requires breath, blood, backbone. It must be nurtured, led, expanded, but above all, it must be believed in. Because belief is the engine. Without belief, your strategy will starve. Without belief, your team will drift. Without belief, your customers will sense hesitation where there should be certainty. But when belief is high, everything flows. That is how movements begin. Not with budgets, with belief. Not with capital, with conviction. Not with perfection, with purpose. And here's the secret they never tell you. Purpose is magnetic to provision. When you step fully into the assignment you were born for, resources find you. People find you. Timing aligns. Doors crack open. Why? Because the universe, God, whatever name you give it, it honors clarity, it honors courage, it honors those bold enough to step without a guarantee. You want favor? Then show faith. You want breakthrough? Then break ground even when the terrain is untested. That's what leaders do. They go first. They speak before it's safe. They move before it's cool. They commit before it's guaranteed. And because they go first, others follow. This is what you must now become. Not just a builder, not just a brand, but a beacon. The one who lights the torch, not just for yourself, but for the countless souls your business is meant to touch. Because somewhere out there is someone praying for what you are building. And they're not going to find it if you hide, if you hesitate, if you dilute your fire to make it more palatable for people who were never meant to walk with you anyway. Let them go. Not everyone can come where you're going. Impact requires altitude, and altitude requires sacrifice. You cannot take old thinking into new territory. You cannot drag doubters into destiny. You cannot water down your voice just to keep the peace. If your business is going to pierce the noise, you must pierce your own comfort first. That means raising your standards, tightening your boundaries, refining your message until it's a sword, not a spoon. You are not here to please. You are here to pierce, to cut through confusion with clarity, to slice through stagnation with strength, to shatter average with authority. And that authority doesn't come from followers, it comes from fire. It comes from doing the work when no one's watching. It comes from living the values you preach. It comes from earning your voice, one decision at a time. You want to speak with power? Then live with integrity. Because energy doesn't lie. The camera might, the caption might, but your energy never does. And that energy is your ultimate leverage. You can fake a funnel. You can fake a script, but you can't fake the frequency of someone who knows exactly why they're here. So know this, you are the strategy. Your energy is the funnel. Your alignment is the algorithm. Your presence is the pitch. When you're aligned, everything works. When you're grounded, everything flows. When you're bold, everything grows. And from this place, you no longer chase impact. You become it. Then rise we shall with no ceiling, no finish line, no apology for the size of our fire. Because now, we don't just build, we embody. Impact is no longer something you aim for, it's something you live. It's the air around you, the echo in every word, the pulse in every product, the conviction in every conversation. You are not a business owner. You are a steward of something sacred. And sacred things are never rushed. You don't measure impact by quarterly profits. You measure it by generational fruit. You don't count likes. You count lives. You don't obsess over reach. You obsess over resonance. Because when your work resonates, it cannot be ignored. It becomes part of the inner world of the people it touches. It transforms them, elevates them, reminds them who they are and what they're capable of. That is impact, not noise, not vanity, not popularity, but legacy through alignment. And to sustain that kind of legacy, you must anchor it in rhythm. Rhythm is what turns fire into flow. It's what keeps you consistent when motivation fades. It's what protects your power from burning out. Create rhythms that match your mission. Morning rituals that align your mind. Weekly planning that aligns your time. Intentional rest that realigns your spirit. Because if you don't lead your time will lead you. And it never leads to purpose by accident. Purpose must be protected from busyness, from burnout, from the temptation to make your calling a commodity. You are not just here to sell solutions. You are here to spark transformation. And that requires rest, space, silence, margin. Don't let hustle culture seduce you into insanity. The world may tell you to grind harder, but real impact flows from those who rest deeper, think clearer, move slower when necessary, and strike only when aligned. You don't need to do more, you need to do what matters. You don't need to be everywhere, you need to be exactly where your gift is most needed, with the people most ready to receive it. That's how you scale without losing your soul. That's how you expand without diluting your essence. That's how you rise without breaking. Because make no mistake, the higher you rise, the more sacred the responsibility. Success will tempt you to coast, to compromise, to let off the gas and enjoy the view. But you didn't come this far to rest in the middle. You came to take the summit, and not for your glory, for the sake of everyone behind you watching, to see what's possible when a person builds without fear. You are the evidence they've been waiting for. Evidence that a business can be wildly profitable and deeply principled. Evidence that a brand can be both strategic and soulful. Evidence that you don't need to choose between impact and income, because when done right, one feeds the other. So own your story. Sharpen your message. Lead with soul. Sell with honor. Deliver with excellence. Scale with wisdom. Live with fire. And know this truth whispered across time by every builder who ever dared to matter. You were born for this. So tell me now, when your ideas become movements, when your tools become platforms, when your presence becomes permission for others to step into their power. You see, legacy isn't about being remembered, it's about building something that remembers people. A culture that lifts, a brand that breathes life, a model that multiplies leaders. If it ends with you, it wasn't impact, it was ego. True impact doesn't need your name attached. It carries your essence long after you're gone. It speaks in rooms you never enter. It blesses people you'll never meet. It echoes through systems, rituals, values, all rooted in the seed you had the courage to plant. And that seed was you. The moment you chose to rise, the moment you chose to believe, the moment you decided to build not for applause, but for alignment, that seed will outlive you. And now you protect it with everything you've got. You protect it by mentoring others, by pouring wisdom into your team, by creating not just content, but context for greatness to be born again and again. This is your invitation to multiply, to turn your impact into infrastructure. Write the playbooks, document the process, teach the philosophy, pass on the fire. Let your business be a teaching ground, a proving ground, a sacred ground. Let those who come after you stand taller because of the foundation you laid, brick by brick, truth by truth, value by value. This is the final rule of impact. You are not done until what you've built can build without you. Until your absence is just as powerful as your presence, because the culture, the cause, and the clarity live on. Until you can walk away, not because you're tired, but because the mission is too alive to stop. And when that moment comes, when you look at your creation, the business, the people, the ripple effect, you'll know you didn't just run a company. You didn't just market a product. You didn't just build wealth. You changed the temperature of the room you walked into. You shifted minds. You elevated standards. You rewrote the rules. And most of all, you spoke life into something the world desperately needed. You created impact not with noise, but with necessity. So carry this forward. Let every move you make echo with meaning. Let every product you build drip with purpose. Let every conversation leave a mark, and every decision honor the calling that got you here. Because if you do that, you won't just succeed. You'll thunder, and the world will feel it forever.